Welcome back. I've been on these Nitto NT01s with the Apex FL5s for a few days now, so I can kind of start giving you my first impressions. But first, here's what happened when I took Zach and David out for their first drive with the new setup.
Welcome to the first drive with these boys on the Sticky Boys. I just want to get some heat in them first. Does it feel fast on the passenger seat?
I feel awesome out back here. You good?
That corner felt kind of fake.
No part of this feels sketchy at all.
No, they're pretty solid.
Yeah, no, they feel great.
Do they start to make some sound?
They're making a little sound right now. Oh, as far as like screeching?
Yeah.
No, they will just go away.
Jesus! God damn it. I'm gonna have to buy some Sticky Boys for the game.
Sticky Boys are needed. Oh, that's so bland.
This has just brought this to another level where I'm like, oh, I didn't know the car could be like this.
That felt awesome.
How do you feel, guys?
I think I'm gonna have to order some 18s and some Sticky Boys real soon.
I have a feeling I'm gonna be replacing wheel bearings in like a month.
You're going down the dark route now of like, oh, I need to do sway bars. Oh, I need to do like suspension stuff now.
The first question I'm going to answer is, do they rub? Full lock, we're at full lock right now, and no, they don't rub actually. You can definitely tell that at low speeds, especially if you're like parallel parking, you're not gonna wanna just crank that wheel with the car stopped. You're gonna wanna move it a little bit. It definitely puts a little more strain on the steering rack than you would intend to, because there's a heck of a lot more meat on this and they're stickier. But my first impressions of the drive is that A, they're super loud, B, I'm gonna wear these out way too quickly. So I'm probably going to go back to the PS4Ss or just drive the M5 more often on the Pilot Super Sports so I'm not destroying these off track. The 275 square setup is great, but one shortcoming of that is they are 2.7% smaller in circumference than the stock wheel and tire setup. So that means your speedometer is going to be off by a little bit. It's only like a couple miles per hour, but that means over 10,000 miles, you'll have gone an extra 270 miles. Not incredibly bad, but just something to keep in mind. BMW speedometers are already pretty optimistic, so what used to look like a 2 or 3 mile per hour difference between GPS speed and indicated speed is going to be more like 4 or 5 mile per hour difference at highway speeds. Now, I've driven them a bit in the wet, but what I really noticed the other night was when I went through some standing water, these are certainly not PS4Ss. They will float a little bit. You've got to be very careful in the wet on these tires. It's pretty rare that you ever hear me talking about fitment. I think the front looks fantastic. They're real meaty. It kind of has that E46 race car look. The rears though, the rears could use some spacers. It's not the end of the world. It just kind of has that Hank Hill butt where up front it's big, meaty, wide pit bull, and then out back it's kind of like, ugh. So I think we'll probably put like a 7mm spacer in the back just to see what it looks like. But I'd also like to try to get as much camber out of this as possible, so I'll probably bring it in for an alignment. I think you can only get a little over a degree of negative camber in the front and the rear on the stock setup. It doesn't allow for a whole lot. So until you start modifying the suspension, you're not gonna get like a full race setup. Which brings me to my next point. I did not put TPMS sensors on these tires. It was just an added expense and I was kind of like, whatever, I'll check them anyway. That does mean that I have an annoying light blinking in my face every time I start the car like this. You'll also see a service engine soon light. I haven't told you about that yet, but basically it's just a secondary air system, so not a big deal, and we will have that fixed. I'm psyched that I was able to put enough heat in these tires to kind of start to show where that heat has been in the tires on the street. Obviously, you're not gonna get crazy heat in your tires on the street unless you have got Angeles Crest Highway or a racetrack of your own. But just a reminder, if you're doing a scrub run, always put other people's safety as a priority. Your tires matter much less than other people. We've got some friends here. We'll say hi to the BC police. All right, I was just kicked out of that parking lot, an empty parking lot in a college campus, because I was called in as a suspicious person. But in their defense, it was the Boston College campus and I wasn't wearing boat shoes, vineyard vines, or a puka shell necklace. So thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and hopefully you know that I am not really a terror to society. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.